Well, a warm welcome to this talk, Tuesday the 22nd of February. Now, I want to read you a quotation from a report from a parliamentary group in my country, the United Kingdom. We feel compelled to conclude that the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency has indeed become an enabler for the pharmaceutical industry, with patient safety no longer being its primary concern. Now, we really hope this is a glimmer of light in the land of hope and glory and mother of the free, that the dawn's early light is perhaps shining a little illumination onto which might have been not very well illuminated in the past. Let's look at it now. Really quite an influential, and I really hope a turning point. I really hope this is not the agonal gasps of a once great and functional parliamentary democracy, that there is some truth starting to come out at last. Let's look at some of the detail now. So that's the quotation there from the group. Medicines regulators failed to flag COVID vaccine side effects is the headline, and must be urgently investigated. So the group want urgent investigation into our regulatory agency. This is from an all-party parliamentary group, APPG, on the pandemic response and recovery. About 25 members of parliament in there. Thank goodness at least 25 of them are doing their job, unlike others that could be mentioned that walk out when certain MPs get up to state the fairly obvious, which is disappointing, of course. Believes the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency are aware of heart and clotting issues in February 2021. February 2021. But did not highlight the problems for several months. Well. I'm being sarcastic here because I'm absolutely furious. This is the time I was vaccinated. This is the time many of you were vaccinated. This is the time many people were vaccine injured. And they knew, according to the suspicions of this report, they knew. And yet allowed us to carry on. I won't get mad, I promise. Let's move on, stick to the facts. But they did nothing to highlight the problem for several months. This is in the Daily Telegraph. It's in Medscape UK. Very good site, actually. Medscape UK. And this is the letter here, which I'm going to show you now. It's on this screen. Pandemic Response and Recovery. The whole letter is there for your perusal. And written in very plain, straightforward English. It's refreshingly transparent. Now, this is what the group say, some of the highlights from their letter. We write regarding seriously concerns about the approach of the Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency. Serious concerns. Yep, serious concerns. To patient safety. And also problems in a system that, far from protecting patients, continues to put them at serious risk. Right, words are important here. Continues to put them at serious risk. Right, this means, according to this parliamentary group, if you live in the UK now, you are still at serious risk from the failures and inadequacies of the Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency, which is there to protect us, or so we naively thought, continues to put us at serious risk. That's now. This is a matter of urgency. This thing here, Primodos, that was a pregnancy checker that induced menstruation. Sodium valproate caused appalling fetal damage. Pelvic mesh, some of the disasters in my country that were picked up late in medical interventions. We also believe that the MHRA, Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, is at the heart of these far wider endemic failings. And that those cited in the letter merely represent the tip of a sizable iceberg of failure. Sizable iceberg of failure. This is not a pleasant read by any means, but it is quite a relief because it expresses the suspicions that many of us have had for a good couple of years now. So that's good to see. The yellow card scheme, which of course is the way that we supposedly report adverse reactions. Yellow card scheme is failing patients. We are being failed. Hospital admissions are caused by complications of adverse drug reactions, 16.5%. So this is saying that 16.5% of hospital admissions are caused by adverse drug reactions. And it all goes on to say, while analysis of inpatient stays in hospital has shown that 15% of patients, this is inpatients, experience one or more adverse drug reaction, with half being either definitely or possibly avoided. So these are things that are avoidable. 16.5% of hospital admissions. Just imagine we could reduce hospital admissions overnight by 16.5%. That would help, wouldn't it? That would really, really help. Independent Medicines and Medical Devices Safety Review report was called First Do No Harm, of course. Anyway, they go on to say, we heard about a system that cannot be relied on to identify promptly significant adverse outcomes arising from a medication or device. So this is talking about the MHRA. The system cannot be relied on to, of course, this needs to be prompt, doesn't it? We can't wait till people die before we notice side effects. Or can we? Significant adverse outcomes arising from medication or device. It's clear that there is gross underreporting. Gross underreporting. One heck of a lot. And our complaint system are both too complex and too diffuse to allow early signal detection. This is the raison d'etre of this system, to allow early signal detecting. Underreporting hinders the ability to detect signals and assign causation. So we need to be able to assign causation. What is causing a particular effect? People have complained to me over the past couple of years of hundreds of different symptoms. And very often it's not obvious to me just by talking to them or even looking at some of their blood results what is causing these adverse events, because we are only able to link with this with possible causation. We don't have the data to do this. We're fumbling around in the dark a lot of the time. The cost to patient safety just of such an unreliable system can be measured in needless fatalities. That means people die needlessly because of this system. Needless fatalities. Considerable burden on the quality of life for survivors. I've met people whose lives have been destroyed, of course. We've interviewed them on this channel. And £2.2 billion worth of strain on NHS England alone. Only 1 in 12 patients are aware that they can report or suspect an adverse reaction. So any patient can report one of these things. But only 1 in 12 people who receive medicines are aware that they can even report it. They didn't even know they could report it. 11 out of 12 don't know they can report these things. 2006 systematic review, the rate of underreporting of adverse events was on average 94%. In other words, 6% were reported. And possibly as high as 98%. In other words, 2% were reported. So if we take the thousands of adverse events that we know about and potentially multiply that by 10.5, it's just horrendous. More than that, isn't it? Multiply it by 20 or something. It's just horrendous. The degree of underreporting. The degree of human pain, suffering and death, which is not being correlated with pharmaceutical interventions, medications, other things and devices. Meaning that only 2 of every 100 adverse drug reactions were reported to the MHRA. For example, a survey of UK pharmacists suggested they lack interest in, well, that's disappointing, pharmacists lacking an interest, and do not promote direct patient reporting. Only 19% of respondents displayed prominent yellow card scheme in their pharmacy. Well done to the 19%. Pity about the other 79%. But well done for the 19% who did have a prominently reported facility in their pharmacy. Now, an example here is given. 2023 analysis of anticoagulants, report of gastrointestinal bleeds. North West England Hospital Trust recorded 12,013 hospital-related emergency admissions. Very common hospital admission, get them all the time, unfortunately. Of those, 1,058 were taking direct oral anticoagulants. So we're taking anticoagulants. This is the new generation of anticoagulants. Now, the point is, so there was 1,058 of these bleeds were taking these new anticoagulants. Only 6 of these anticoagulant yellow cards reports were made by the Trust during the period. So the Trust managed to report 0.56 cases via the yellow card scheme. It's getting on for 1 in 200 or something, slightly more than 1 in 200. Not good, not good. Conflicts of interest and transparency was a heading in the report. Now, this is an article we've looked at before, from the FDA to the MHRA. Are drug regulators for hire? Question mark, from the British Medical Journal. The regulatory industry revolving door was talked about in this article. We might remember we talked about the revolving door. I mean, Jonathan Van Tam, our Deputy Chief Medical Officer, left and went to work for a company. What was it again? Was it called Moderna or something like that? He moved from one to the other. Back again, you know. I mean, these things didn't influence any decisions made. No one's saying that, of course. But the revolving door has been identified. Now, here's some figures. UK Medicines and Healthcare Products Regulatory Agency. Proportion of budget funded from industry. You can't see that, but it says 86%. 86% funded by industry. Australia TGA, it's only 96% in Australia. So Therapeutic Goods Administration, only 96% of the funding derives from industry. Europe, it's 89%. Japan, it's 85%. United States, it's 65% derived from industry. Canada, it's 50%. So huge amounts. In all cases, the majority of funding are coming from industry. But on the positive side, you'll be relieved to know that the proportion of COVID-19 vaccine committee members that declared a conflict of interest in the UK was only 32%. And in Australia, it was only 50% of members had an interest, a financial interest, in the vaccines they were approving. March 2020, Dame June Rain. Dame is like a knighthood for women. This is what we do to people that make a significant contribution to the, what's the word I'm looking for now, well-being of society. Chief Executive of the MHRA. I think she's decided to leave now for some strange reason. I've no idea why. Agency must transition, or is transitioning, from watchdog to enabler. What on earth does that mean? Enabling what? And the committee says it does little to quell suspicions of conflicts, and implications for patient safety cannot be overlooked. MHRA, Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, response to Freedom of Information requests between 2008 and 2017. 41% were successful. In other words, 59% were not successful. So 59% lack of transparency there. Not good, I wouldn't have said. Since 2019, the number has seen a substantial increase from 609 to 1,609 in 2021 alone, likely due to concerns about the regulation of COVID-19 vaccinations, according to the committee, with 76% of these requests answered outside the 20 working day statutory response time. Often exemptions were applied or vague, evasive responses received. Imagine that. Exemptions were applied or vague, evasive responses were received. Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency, From regulatory approval to post-marketing pharmacovigilance, the MHRA has a history of failing patients. The MHRA does not attempt to assess or compare the safety of different vaccines. I mean, this is unbelievable. The Medicines and Healthcare Product Regulatory Agency does not attempt to assess or compare the safety of different vaccines. Why not? I would have thought that's fairly important, but hey-ho. What do I know about it? MHRA does not hold a process for investigating and following up of individual yellow card reports. Why not? MHRA only followed up on some 54% of deaths reported following yellow cards as possible linked to exposures to one of the COVID-19 vaccines. So we have possible links to COVID-19 vaccines, and they only bothered following up 54% of these. Quite incredible. Now, it talks about the history of the AZ vaccine a little bit in this report. I'm not going to go into in detail because we've done it before. But 2 months later, the 7th of May 2021, the MHRA withdrew AstraZeneca for under 40s, but only after further needless deaths. Further needless deaths. What conclusions are we to draw about the seeming unwillingness of a regulator, largely funded by those it regulates, to disclose data to the same public it professes to protect? Fair question. The conclusion: we feel compelled to conclude that the MHRA has indeed become an enabler for the pharmaceutical industry, with patient safety no longer being its primary concern. With patient safety no longer being its primary concern. We started off by saying Land of Hope and Glory, Mother of the Free. There's a few other lines from that song. Thine equal laws by freedom gained have ruled thee well and long, by freedom gained, by truth maintained. Maybe that's some sentiments we need to return to. We'll leave it there. Thank you for watching.